The San Jose Sharks do it once again in extra time. They beat the Flyers 3-2 in overtime, making a goaltender making his NHL debut look like a Vezina candidate. Shocking? No. What's shocking? This postgame. Let's have some fun right now on Teal Town After Dark. Good evening, everyone. It is December 30th, 2021. Happy early New Year from all of us here at Teal Town, USA. And we welcome you to this edition of Teal Town After Dark. This is your live interactive Sharks postgame. We do this after every game. So here's what we do. We want you to be a part of the show. And to do that, chat with us and fellow Sharks fans on the page or the app. And of course, follow us on the social, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Hit that subscribe button right now if you haven't already. SoundCloud, Reddit, and of course, our Discord. And find everything at tealtownusa.com. And with that, good evening, everyone. Alongside Eric Landy, it's yours truly, Eric Cura. It's the Eric and Eric Show. Landy, how was your holiday, bud?
Holiday was okay. It was decent. We got through it, and that was probably the biggest part of it. We got through it.
Yeah, no kidding.
But in the words of Brody Brazil, how many goals do we need to have against?
2 or fewer?
You'd be right.
That seems to be the case here, and the Sharks, I believe, are now 12-0, entering the third period with the lead, which was barely, if you go into that. But let's get into it, shall we? I mean, this was a really good game where, Felix Sandstrom, not to confuse with Sandstorm, which is probably why they didn't play it tonight, gets his NHL debut. Martin Jones, who played the night before in Seattle, gets the night off. To me, I was kind of disappointed. I thought it'd be great to see Jonah in net.
Don't you dare!
Oh,
don't you dare! You know that if he started, it would have been a shutout, and it would have been in like epic proportion. It would have been like a 45 save shutout. And we would have lost like 3-0. And don't you wish that upon us?
But Landy, let's be honest here. This had the setup for that. No matter who was in net, they could have put a box of Kraft Dinner macaroni and cheese, and with the Sharks in stealth jerseys and everything. I mean, come on, it's just like you're just asking for it to be.
Oh gosh. But I think we're gonna pull Ron Hextall out of retirement there. Like you said, either way you sliced it, this was going to be one of those kind of games where the Sharks would have just had excuses upon excuses. But I think we saw a good effort, and for me, I think the thing that jumped out the most was the physicality in that first period, right from the start of the puck drop. And you know what? Nobody personified better than the fourth line. Yep. They started tonight like little spark plugs, man. And I tell you what, they kind of brought the rest of the forward group into the water with them, with the physical play. And I thought they did a very, very good job.
They sent the message early that you can't toss us around, which I thought was something that the Sharks have been guilty of doing early on in the season, like getting tossed around like little kids.
Especially with Eki, right? I mean, I think that was one of the key concerns was just that Eklund wasn't ready yet, and you know what? Maybe it's on the team as well that they weren't, not that they weren't protecting him enough, but maybe they weren't playing a physical enough style in order for him to thrive, at the weight class that he's at now. So that could have been part of it as well, because I think you pick up on something really astute there, Puck Guy, is that at the very beginning of the season, this was a team that was easily pushed around. Mm-hmm. And I thought we saw that going through that little bit of a slump before the Christmas break.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it's like, these guys are getting hit and getting hit hard. And I thought VL was going to be a guy that made the team out of camp, but and I think it's elevated the play for Lane Peterson, who had to get his crap together. I know Chirk's been all over him on the pucknologist and everything, and I'm with him too. I saw, like I said, I saw the game with Sharks and the Kraken, and he was having a tough time struggling with the puck. I think he's found where he's supposed to be for a little bit, but he still has some room to improve, let's say, but he's getting better. Um, but yeah, I
Yeah,
suppose,
if we just kind of running down quickly, I mean, if we look at the fourth line stats, they're not great, but Peterson tonight almost had 11 minutes, and wasn't a liability. He had 5 shots on goal, 5 hits tonight. Now the faceoff percentage is at 33%, and that is not good. That's not good enough, for a center. And I think he switches off with VL, whoever's the handedness for those faceoffs. But still, that's if you want to be a fourth line center, you've got to be hovering in the at least 40s for me at least.
We remember those days of Scott Nickel and Manny Malhotra when they were on this team where they were face-off wizards.
Both of those two. I mean, they not only were they wizards, Eric, like on the ice, but I think off the ice as well, teaching the rest of the team. You remember Thornton getting so much better at faceoffs once Manny got to the team, and Patty kind of reinvesting his game into better faceoffs. They took pride in that,
right?
And for me, faceoffs have kind of ebbed and flowed as the team has ebbed and flowed. And I think it's a key indicator as to effort level and how how that team is going to do on that night. For me, it's one of those stats that has been an indicator of team health for me this season.
Yeah, and it's again, this team has started slow on face-offs and then progressively just dominated the rest of the way. And it's great to see. So, but prior to the game, like maybe a half hour to an hour before the game, we find out Mario Ferraro goes into COVID protocol, but we get Jonathan. We're part of the team. Jonathan Dolan comes back for the Sharks. So you get Milosh in, so that throws off all the defensive pairings, which could have been a disaster. And Jaden Helgowatz, congrats on getting your first NHL point. Enjoy the press box. But as we get to it, the Flyers take a pair of penalties, which I thought were meh. Giroux playing ice capades with Gregor, nothing happens there. Wellman for interfering.
Wellman with the interference on Nick Milosh. I think that was the one that they took in the offensive zone. Philadelphia took in their offensive zone.
And so my thing to you is that when Frost makes it 1-0, I still thought the Sharks had played a strong period early on. They were throwing pucks on net. Their shot attempts. We'll talk about the shots on goal alone a little bit later, but the shot attempts were just off the charts tonight.
Yeah, and for me, I thought at the end of that first period, if that was going to be kind of like the holdup of the score and kind of the way that this game was kind of unfolding, it felt like it was going to be one of those tough nights to get goals. I thought, you know what? The power play is going to be a narrative once again. And I think for me, at least, going into that second period, that kill that they got ended up really kind of changing the momentum of the game. And with that shorty from Logan Couture 5 minutes in, 5 minutes 20, Logan just making a great individual effort up the zone on the kill. You've got the good kind of symmetrical pass from Cogliano from our own defensive zone, and it's kind of just one of those up passes, and Logan just takes it right in and goes 5-hole.
And then after that, Logan was still out there on the ice and had like a couple more chances throughout that whole penalty on Milosh. So that made it 1-1. But you saw that momentum carry over, and then Burns gets open in the slot, wide open. Burns, you got to have that shot. Boom, he scores it, make it 2-1. From Cogliano, or excuse me, from Hertl and Middleton. For Burns, he becomes the 7th all-time leading scorer in Sharks history.
Yeah, that one was crazy, and we saw a familiar name is starting to I think he passed him up, was Jonathan Chichu.
Yep.
And very, very interesting, and because I think of the Rocket Richard for Cheech, and how he's so beloved, and yet now Brent Burns. I mean, this is a guy that we've had and fostered, and he wasn't ours originally, but he sure does feel like he's been an original Shark for a long time. But Hertl, I think, really needs to get a big shout out though for that drop pass. He just puts it right on the tape of Burns. Burns has to settle it a little bit. Felt the ice was a little bit choppy tonight. I think both teams were kind of fighting it. Definitely in that first period, we saw a lot of misfires on the puck. Mm-hmm. But just to get that puck through to the zone and get that in Burns's wheelhouse, he nailed it. That was the laser beam Burns shot that we know and love.
Yeah, it was that nice little snapper, had a little more power to it, and was great to make it 1-1, or excuse me, 2-1. But hey, not Burns had a goal. Karlsson will get to in a moment with the assist, but Jake Middleton, 2 assists, his first multi-point game. Have yourself a night. Yeah, they were tertiary assists, but that Burns one, that's got to be up at least mid-range on Hockey Jerk's Moduel. Big time for it. But
well, I mean, I think he's adding a couple of things to the mix, Eric. I think one, he's starting to finally be comfortable in the defensive zone, especially comfortable anchoring it by himself, because I thought very beginning of the season he wanted to have a Karlsson kind of closer to him, because he kind of felt that he couldn't make the nice up pass kind of in that mid defensive zone kind of pass, that tic-tac-toe pass from the zone. He wasn't making those kind of passes. But now, as the season has progressed on, we've seen the confidence build, and we've seen him take more chances. Mm-hmm. And it's done really, really good work for that pair. I mean, I think it gets Erik Karlsson moving his skates a little bit. It hits him in stride. And I think when Karlsson is moving his skates and is that quick player through the zone, that's when you're going to utilize him best. So, big hats off to Middleton for really, really putting in yeoman's work. But I think the other thing that we got to talk about is his physicality. This is a guy that's also not afraid to drop the gloves. This is a guy that can get down and dirty in the boards, and really has been a key integral part. And to be honest, kind of a leftover for me, kind of coming out of camp. I was like, okay, Middleton, interesting,
right?
But holy crap, he has been a revelation this year. Him and Ferraro have just blossomed, and I think really have shown kind of where this team is going defensively.
And not only that, but you also forget about how Santeri Hataka, or Hataka, is whatever you want to call it, made some plays. You also saw from last year, we've yet to see
Nikki
Knizhov yet. We'll see on that. We saw a little bit of Knizhov, but not a whole lot. So it's nice to see that the defense is kind of getting some leeway in here as well. Maybe not as
I think I smell though a trade in the brewing though, and I think because you're starting to see now there are multiple pieces that can be plugged in on that back end. And you've seen a lot of interchangeability. And when I see that interchangeability, Eric, that to me signals that the team is fluid and it's got a lot of spare parts. And it's good to see from the depth perspective that, maybe the Barracuda have been developing some defensemen.
Well,
dear Lord, I mean, could that be a thing?
About time.
We've only waited 20 some odd years,
exactly.
Mr. Sommer.
Yeah, no kidding. So it was 2-1 after 2 periods. I want to get to just another Randy G's comment in the chat, because can we start to worry about the power play for the Sharks yet? And I love the response from Sleepy Mofo saying, wouldn't it be a Sharks fan base if we didn't worry about their power play? Tonight... in the last couple of nights, it just has been meh. They go 0 for 4 tonight. If the stats are correct, going off of what AJ tweeted out on Twitter earlier, 0 for 12 in, I guess, now the last 5 games. Hey.
We go from execution to stagnant play to just missing out on personnel. I think right now the top power play unit is overloaded with all of the stars and nothing is happening. And I think that there needs to kind of be a rethink and a reshape of what they're doing. And I think it's been broadcasted to the NHL that those point shots is the bread and butter. I mean, they're getting and kicking it out to the points, but now teams are kind of allowing them to kick it out to the point and kind of daring them to take that long, shot that's not, very effective. So I think the book on the Sharks is kind of out, and there needs to be a rethink here. And we've talked about this since the DeBoer era. I mean, we've been worried about a power play. I mean, I don't think until the McClellan era, right? I think that was really the most stable power play that we had for a long time. But then the DeBoer era kind of started, and you saw the power play kind of retain, a lot of the McClellan-esque things.
Right.
But then, as the years have been separated from him, there hasn't been a good infusion of power play creativity. And to me, the power play is stale.
Mm-hmm. When you can figure out everything, that's when you have a problem. I mean, how many times years ago we were talking about, we're rimming it around the boards to Jumbo on the half board. Don't see that coming. Or it was rimming around the boards to Burnsy to throw the shot puck on net, or have Pavelski tip it in the middle of the slot when he gets left alone open again. So there's that. But the third period, oh boy, it started with as a nightmare early on when you had Meyer taking a questionable hooking call, then Burns right off the draw of the power play have a tripping call on JVR and
I mean that one to me, Eric, you could have given him the Oscar right there. I mean, it's just beautiful work, artwork right there.
What is this? Are you Italian all of a sudden? Hey, it was like wow, but I mean,
yeah, exactly.
But, hats off to the PKers. I mean, like
the captain.
The
captain. Where would that PK have been without the captain?
You're absolutely right. That first one when he scored the goal and he had a couple other chances, but also on this one, and Reimer is, as we're getting the post-game comments from AJ. Thanks, bud. I thought we played a solid game, one of our best this season. That long 5-on-3 when we were committed. Block shots, huge plays from guys. It's fun to play behind these guys. Bonino's commitment to getting into shooting lanes. We depend on him to bring that type of leadership every night, and he's doing that right thing. And
I was going to say about the Bonino on the latter half of that PK, the 5-on-3 with 13 seconds left, he just dives out and with the second effort kicks that puck out into the neutral zone. And to me, between him and Logie, the two gutsiest, displays of PKing I've seen this year.
Yeah, I mean,
really,
it had. I mean, granted, they all had their sticks, but there is like that remnants of that May 2006 PK unit against Edmonton. Was that Maddie in the chat? And I love your icon because I love Snoopy. Howdy, that 5-on-3 was very satisfying but very hectic. One of those moments where you couldn't tear your eyes away for a second, But Landy, one of the things about that is that Bones gets the puck cleared out. They get both guys back on the ice. Everybody's excited for it. Then these generate some offensive pressure, which leads to a power play that they get. And that's the thing. They had so many chances beforehand and so many chances on the power play. It's like, oh man, if you could bury one of those, you got him down for sure.
And it's okay to get away with a power play that's meh but can be clutch. And you were highlighting this moment right here at the end of the third period when you're getting that power play, and you're going to go on the power play, and you've got the chance to put the nail into the coffin, and the team whiffed. I mean, completely whiffed. And that last power play to me was the most concerning of all of the power plays tonight, because it was a lack of execution. But not only that, it was a lack of execution in the moment in which they could have gone for the jugular.
Yeah. And Logan Teal 86 saying right on the head, Sharks have one of the most stale umbrella power plays in the league. And you would think with two offensive-minded defensemen who have been able to generate so much offense during the years, and money with side, but I mean, it's like, come on, guys, let's not go with just the regular stuff. Let's try some other things. But
get creative. It's not like there's a lack of creativity on the forward side. I mean, shoot, utilize Hertl's passing a little bit more, or integrate Gregor's shot, on the Ovi side, because I feel like Gregor has one of those slap shots that's heavily underutilized, but I think it's good.
Or the Tomas Holmstrom in front of the net. I mean, I've no disrespect to Alexander Barabanov, but I don't think he's going to get in the goaltender's way that much.
I mean, I liked Jasper Weatherby in that bumper spot. He's 6'4" and he's a big dude, and I think that was kind of the idea behind kind of putting Jasper out there. But again, he's not playing. He's on COVID list, right? So unfortunately, he's not available. But still, there's got to be some more physicality in front of the net. I think that that's kind of what we're craving and kind of what we're missing. Yeah. And right now, it is very easy for the opposing team to box out the Sharks. And if you're not getting those cross ice passes, we remember as fans watching Drew draw the box, and then once you could put the puck through the box, your chances of scoring on the power play increased exponentially. It was all about lateral movement.
Mm-hmm.
And right now the Sharks have none of that. It's basically a forward kind of kick it out to the point, mm-hmm. crash the net, and just hope for a bang bang type of play. There is no kind of subtle passing within the slot, and I think that that's, like I said, it's easily predictable.
It's like waiting for the deflection, waiting for the rebound. Yeah, it's one of those things. And I thought that kind of killed the Sharks' momentum going into the third period. And it was just a surprising shot that Farabee gets past, Reimer to...
that was one that's... Yeah, Rhymes has got to have that one, unfortunately. I think he had kind of really held the team in a lot of certain spots, but I think that was one that he'd want back. I think he didn't cut off the corner quite enough, and I think he got kind of taken advantage of on that far side post. So it was a good shot too, though. You can't take away from the shot either, but I didn't really like the positioning there. But you said it before. I mean, it was, you saw the sag in the momentum. You saw that the team couldn't take advantage of the power play, and that directly led to that letdown. And Philadelphia smelled a way to get back into the game. Yeah. And give them full credit. They took advantage of it. And to me, again, showing that the Sharks still have a lot of growing to do, and that power play. I mean, you circle it as special teams is going to kill this team right now.
Yeah, and you get in, and it's something that where, my gosh, come on, get it together. Like AJ saying, the Sharks are still running the Steve Stott power play.
Yeah. I mean, he's not wrong.
No,
he ain't wrong.
No. So the game would go into overtime, tied at 2-2, and it was kind of interesting. I saw the play develop there. It's like Karlsson kind of was getting pressured. He fed it to Hertl, literally as Hertl is getting onto the bench. He mishandles the puck. He gets it back to Karlsson, which leads to a 2-on-1. Karlsson feeds Hertl. He misses it on the rebound, then gets the rebound and puts it in for the game winner. And so the Sharks win 3-2 on that one. But I mean, those guys coming together, and it was. I mean, of course, we
Dude,
see
it
a
was
big
hella
smile.
ugly. It was hella ugly, and you know what? It was one of those goals that was weird, and the timing was kind of weird, and we were kind of at that point kind of all restless. I think as a fan, as fans, because it just seemed like there was nothing going on in that overtime, and it was just defense, 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 or then pull it back out into the neutral zone and let's change it up and
Right.
keep puck possession and oh my God, that's the bad thing about the 3-on-3 is it can get a little stagnant, but give them full credit. They took advantage of a missed step by Philadelphia where they're kind of caught in between on a change. They're able to isolate one of the defenders and get that 2-on-1 down low. Hertl sticks with it, which I think is kind of the underserved portion of the story is that Hertl gets it on the rebound, right? It's not on the initial shot, but it's on the rebound. He kept working at it. So it was gritty, and it was good to see that the boys were able to pull it out in overtime. I'm concerned, though, that power play is leaking oil. It has been leaking oil all season, but now you're starting to see where it's going to be the Achilles heel of a team that has, lofty aspirations. And if they don't get that sorted, then I don't think that the team can stay competitive.
The thing I have is that I mean, you get 4 points out of the 4 points you should get, absolutely. But my thing is this: the Flyers start an AHL goaltender who has struggled in Lehigh Valley. The only reason why he's playing is because Jones isn't going to play back to back. I mean, he took on 46 shots, 43 saves, huge stick taps to him. I mean, on his NHL debut. I mean, it could have been, oh crap, what was the goaltender up in Vancouver that I kind of felt sorry.
Scrivens?
No, not Scrivens. I was thinking it should have been like that 7-0 game in Vancouver where they where they hung out the goaltender to dry. But it's like crazy. Yeah, they get the job done. I mean, Sandstrom, good, huge stick taps to you for your game. You came out and played fire tonight. And in fact, I think, if I'm not mistaken, looking at some of the comments, yeah, even Reimer giving kudos to him. We should have probably spent 30 seconds talking about their goalie. Hats off to him.
I was sorry. People were just kind of looking at what I'm looking at. I've got the stats kind of pulled up, seeing where the Sharks are coming in at as far as the standings now, and just kind of the health of the team. And I'm still looking at that differential, and it's kind of bothering me a little bit. But it's good to see that the team's back on a 500 level now in their last 10 streak. But again, I think that power play, I think, is really kind of starting to concern me now, in a way that if you're going to be giving away points if that does not get shorn up, you know what I mean? I think it's going to directly affect standings, and I hope that the team takes that to heart, because going 0-4 tonight, you get the win, but I think we all kind of felt, one, the win should have come in regulation. Two, I think the way in which they scored was very demoralizing in that third period, and how the team kind of felt like they were kind of letting them back into the game.
Yeah.
And you come away with that kind of sour taste in your mouth. So yeah, for everybody who's chiming in on the power play, what power play, I am all with you on that one.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm looking at the teams in front of us, right? You're looking at Edmonton, you're looking at Colorado, Calgary, Anaheim, and Vegas in the pack, and Los Angeles is nipping right at our heels. Yeah. Same amount of points.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the standings right now. Vegas is at 42, Anaheim 41, Calgary at 38, and then Edmonton is still somehow holding down the last wild card spot at 36. Yes, the Sharks are within a point, but they have two. But they give Edmonton 2 games in hand. Colorado has 5 games in hand on the Sharks. So that's a bit of a concern on there. But yeah, LA's right there with San Jose at 35. But then you also have Winnipeg at 33. Vancouver, who's won 7 in a row, is at 33 now. Um, you know, you got to continue to keep putting the pressure on, and that's the big thing, Landy, is that they got to come out with all this stuff.
Yeah,
And
and we've been talking about not only how it affects today's team, but the way in which this team is playing will affect the future iterations, because we all know that that Hertl contract is the cloud that is looming right now.
Yeah.
And to me, Eric, I mean, it goes to show you tonight. He had goal and assist. This was if he was going to get points in tonight's game, it was going to be the longest career point streak for Tomas Hertl, which he does. And now you're thinking, okay, I mean, how can you let your, if not your top scorer, the maybe the best generating forward that you've got outside of Timo, how are you going to let him walk away? And how are you going to sell that to this fan base?
Yeah,
I'm concerned.
That's the big one, is how do you tell the fan base that? And Hertl making the comments tonight, we know we're getting very many power play opportunities, so we have to absolutely be better at finding chances. Something we'll work on at on the road trip. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. If you're getting chances now on the power play, but here's the thing: you're not capitalizing. You got to make those happen.
And we were talking a little bit about the depth at defense, and somebody was like, well, what are you going to say? I think we have a super chat donation. Buckeye.
Oh, Hockey Mom. Who has some sort of resemblance to somebody on this program tonight. It has a 30.
I think it's the hair.
Yeah, it must be. It's the hair and everything. A $30 super chat donation from Hockey Mom. So, Landy's mom, thank you. We appreciate it. It goes to help support rebuilding Landy's computer again.
Yeah. Well, luckily tonight I think we're all okay. But no, I mean, just kind of getting back to it though, it is kind of concerning because he's kind of turning into the most key integral piece on the forward side. And how are you going to? I mean, you've got to. The thing is, Eric, at the end of the day, you've got to ice a roster, and the team has said that it wants to stay competitive. So I don't know how you can say that the team is going to be competitive if they're either their primary forward or their second best forward on the team is going to be potentially leaving.
Yeah, I mean there's some amazing youth in the near future, but it's not going to be here now or next year. So yeah, there's gotta be a stopgap at the very least. But
but that the depth from defense. Sorry, now I kind of know where I was going with that. You could use that capital. That's kind of capital that you're building up now for a person that can plug in on the forward side today. That's got a little bit more offensive upside than a Kevin LeBanc, because unfortunately, I think we've seen now the Kevin, that 50-point Kevin, might not have been really what he's going to be. And he might, not that he's going to be a bad player, but I think he might hover more in that 30-point range versus kind of being a 50, 60-point person. Yeah. And it's clear that the team needs another offensive outlet for the team to be successful on the power play. Another super chat coming in, Eric.
From just another Randy G, a $10 super chat. Of course, we appreciate the super chat. You can also Venmo us at Tealtown USA, where we get 100% of the proceeds of it. Curious on your quick thoughts about benching Timo for all of overtime. I mean, it was kind of curious to see Matt Nieto on Logan's side for overtime. And I'm trying to find the comment that I saw from Bugner about it. Yeah,
Well, I
right
mean,
here.
I can quickly vamp. I
Go
mean,
ahead.
Dahlin was looking winded all game. To be honest with you, that was a conditioning issue to me with Dahlin.
And
Go ahead, Eric.
coming off of COVID too, for that matter.
Yeah.
You have to hold everyone to the same standard and everyone accountable. That's what Bugner said on not playing Meyer or Dolan in overtime. Dolan, like you said, I think can be conditioning from coming off of COVID protocol. Meyer, he has those games where he struggles, and I think Bugner's just sending the message that hey, just because you make $6 million doesn't mean you're going to get out there. Now, I beg to differ when it's a defenseman, but
Well, I mean, we can talk about that, about that particular thread in the vein of what's going on. But to me, you take a look at his stat line tonight. Timo had 3 shots on goal, had took 1 penalty, was a -1, 1 hit, 1 giveaway. I mean, not a horrible night, but I mean, what's the message that you're trying to tell him there? I mean, are you trying to get him to be more physical, or are you trying to get him to take more shots on goal, or is it like a kind of a defensive awareness kind of message? I'm not sure, but kind of interesting that he's the guy that he kind of plucks out of the lineup tonight.
yeah.
What did you think, Eric?
I mean, it wasn't anything that was horrible. I mean, yeah, he takes that penalty, but that penalty, wasn't even sure it was a penalty, for that matter. But I would say probably like in the middle of the third period, it's like, okay, I really haven't heard from Timo. You know, I really haven't heard from Jonathan Dolan. Barabanov had some chances. He had a nice dangle that almost, with him wearing 94, I'm remembering Corky so much. But at the same time, it's like, okay, we need you to be better. And I think maybe that's the thing that he's trying to send. I hate to use the analogy from Miracle, the movie, but maybe that's what he was like. Bugner is doing that whole thing with Mike Ruzioni that Kurt Brooks did. It's like kind of giving him that shake up, saying, "Hey, don't get comfortable. Don't get comfortable. You need to be better. You got to keep going."
Yeah, I could see that. I think you're also kind of wanting to see maybe him be a little bit more of a physical presence in the game. This is the kind of game that a Timo Meyer should be excelling in.
Yeah.
And, we didn't really see too much from him. Now, Barabanov, to me, I think since he's been put on that first line, you can see him venturing further and further into the offensive zone. And he almost has a confidence now to go to the net a little bit harder. So I'm not too worried about Barabanov. And to be quite honest, I mean, Timo, we know, I mean, he just came off of an impressive games point streak as well. So he's the leading scorer. Again, maybe it's a little misplaced of a message, but I don't know. I just kind of a head scratcher to me a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. You kind of curious, and also, like I said, I think if you're gonna send a message, you better hope you get it right. Like, because if, let's be honest here, if Philly scores and comes back to win this game, we're all talking about where's your offense,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's because I went from being very pumped about this game, getting into that third period, and then as that goal was scored, I was like, oh, that's just so Sharks.
yeah,
And getting the overtime was good, but to me, it was one of those victories that was kind of marred, and one of those ones. Remember, Todd McClellan used to say, when your game is getting sick, you're winning the games that you shouldn't win,
mm-hmm.
and it's kind of a telltale sign. So that's kind of that was kind of the vibe that I got from tonight.
And it's one of those things where it's like eventually those good wins turn into, okay, you got lucky there, to okay, you like you said earlier, you're leaking oil on there, so something's got to give there. So
But on a positive, the defense, I think the defensive structure tonight was so completely 180 degrees different than it was against the Coyotes. And again, I think that was a kind of a rust. We saw a lot of rust factor there. And I think that game was going to be high scoring no matter what. But it was good to see them get back to the foundation, the good defense. You don't like that one in the third, but again, you're keeping them under 2 goals, and a lot of good things are going to happen.
Yeah, and again, like AJ saying, what happens if Couture doesn't score that shorty? Yikes.
Yeah. No, he's absolutely
and that
right.
was a big goal too. So definitely, Jerk, if you're watching Couture's shorty, big one for the module. So so the Sharks win this one 3-2 in overtime. They're oh no, you're laughing. What?
No, I was just looking at Big Bird's comment. We lose.
Yeah. We stink again.
Yeah, when?
Yeah, so going through the scores here really quick, the Sharks are at 17-4-1 with their victory tonight. Holy crap, did the Panthers put a whooping on the Tampa Bay Lightning? They beat the defending champs 9-3.
Hey, I think we're missing a segue. Was there not Cheetah thrown tonight?
Well, fine. I haven't seen Laurel in there. I know she's recovering from an injury, but, for the people, we'll do it.
Hey.
Have the goddamn common courtesy to give him a reach around.
It's wraparound. So Panthers 9, Lightning 3. Duclair with a. Did he end up getting a hat trick? I don't think he did. No, he got a pair of goals, but I mean, practically everybody scored for Florida tonight. I think even Jumbo wasn't in the lineup, and yeah, bud. So, and Jerry, yes, you're right there. Yes, my Venmo does it. Yes, of course, of course it does, Jerry. Come on now. Hurricanes shut out the Canadiens 4-0. Niederreiter, Teravainen. If you have a lot of vowels in your name, you probably scored for Carolina tonight. Can I buy a vowel? Tom Dunn. And yes, Laurel's on long LTIR. Will help us out at the trade deadline for sure.
Big addition. It's like an addition at that trade deadline.
Right. Speaking of big additions, Patrick Laine gets back in to the goal scoring, which I was a little iffy on if he was actually going to allow that goal, but he helps the Blue Jackets to a 4-3 shootout win over the Nashville Predators on that one. So
resurgent Nashville, a very, very hard fought win, and they still secure a point, and they're starting to turn it around a little bit here.
For sure. They started off slow, missed the playoffs last year. You're wondering, is Hines going to be the guy that gets the heave-ho early on? He's done a pretty good job with them. And at Belmont Park, Islanders win again 4-1 over Buffalo Sabres. It's just so weird to see that the Islanders have fewer points than Buffalo. That's just beyond my... But we have found Matthew Barzal. He got his 6th goal of the season. So it's another one of those things that happens. Mark Giordano got his first goal against his former team, but it wasn't enough as the Kraken lose back-to-back nights, 6-4 over the Calgary Flames. In this one, Mangiapane doing it again. Probably one of those guys for a team that he's not going to be able to go to the Olympics for sure, because he might have been one of those dark horses.
Yeah.
Moving onward. All right. LA gets a shootout win over Vancouver, ends their 7-game winning streak 2-1 in the shootout. But Vancouver, has points in 8 straight games. In this one, Horvat with the late third period goal. Brandon Lemieux, who probably still has skin on his teeth from Matthew Tkachuk, or I'm sorry, Brady Tkachuk. Gets the one goal in regulation for LA in that one. So, So there's all that. That finishes, the calendar year for the Sharks for 2021. Of course, New Year's Day coming up, Landy. So Winter Classic, Minnesota with those god awful uniforms, and the Blues with those beautiful, vintage cream jerseys. New Year's night, I believe it's at 5 p.m. on TNT. Part of our poll question here tonight was the Sharks get to host a Winter Classic in San Francisco. Who would you like as their opponent? In Vegas, LA, or Anaheim, Detroit, or other? If you're saying other, tell us which team you would want in the chat. But honestly, Landy, with 50% of the poll saying Vegas, 37% saying LA or Anaheim, are you surprised a little bit?
How we have very, very short selective memories, people. That's all I got to say about that.
All right. I see where you're going with that. To me, I mean, it's been a while, and that's probably the thing, 10, 11, 12 years since these teams met in a playoff series and moving over to the different conference. I mean, that's a tough one to see Detroit,
and we said that once they went over into the East, right? Like that was going to be one of those lost, kind of cherished rivalries that we had, and it's kind of shown out, right?
Yeah.
So, I think if you're thinking of yesteryear and very long time ago, you go with Detroit. I feel like if you're of, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. Like I said, LA. Not only do we have it's LA, but it's the NorCal SoCal thing.
Yeah.
It's been the year in which we do not speak, and I think that there's been a lot of animosity with that team and more long soaked animosity with that team.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's kind of interesting too because there's blood with Vegas. There was really good. There was actual blood with that rivalry. So. Yeah, I think it's interesting, but hey, what do I know?
It's a geographical rivalry that I love, so we'll see on that. So
they're trying to get us our predictions on the road trip.
On the road trip. So coming up, the Sharks have Pittsburgh, Detroit, Buffalo, Philly. Will we finally see Jones play against San Jose? I would think they would play him when they get to Philly sometime next week, but. What are you thinking?
Ooh, if it's going to be a successful road trip, to me, you got to bank at least 6 points out of it. So 3 wins in any fashion, I think would, to me, constitute a good road trip. Just you can't go under 500 to me on this one, and I think that this kind of will give us the barometer of where the team will be at kind of come towards trade deadline. I think this road trip will tell us a lot.
Yeah.
And for me, if we can pull a 3-2-1 type road trip, game or 5 game?
It's a 4 game.
4 game, excuse me. Still, I think you still got to pull. Yeah, I'd still want 6 points out of that, and I think a 3-1 kind of trip, or if you
2-1-1-1.
Yeah, exactly. 2-1-1-1. You could do that as well. But I think pulling out 6 points, and the reason why I'm saying that is because I looked at those standings, and I do not like the way in which LA has creeped up right behind us, and I do not like the fact that Edmonton has 2 games in hand.
Yeah.
And especially with the Canadian markets and the Canadian teams getting a little bit more games in hand, that could play a factor at the end of the season because we've seen Edmonton and Calgary go neck and neck at the top of the standings. Vegas is having a good roll right now, but it's also kind of misskewed because of games played.
And Max Pacioretty magically has to have wrist surgery, and he'll be out indefinitely. I wonder what that's leading up to. Are we going to see Jack Eichel before the Sharks even get to face Vegas for the first time? I have a feeling.
They're going to pull the old Tampa Bay, right?
Looks like it. We'll see.
they've got to fill that loophole at some point, right? I mean, boy,
You would think.
it's just these mysterious ailments. You know, it was interesting. I thought we kind of had this in vogue thing of using medical, of using medical kinds of diagnoses to get out of contracts, in kind of in a formality type of way. I think of Marion Hosen and stuff. But now to use it within season, I think that's even more pervasive, and that's cap circumvention, whatever way you slice it. That's got to be dealt with in my mind.
Yeah, in some form at least, because I mean, what they can trade for a player forever they want, and then all of a sudden, oh, somebody goes down with an injury. Yeah, okay. So, also bummer that the World Juniors got canceled. I mean, William Eklund was on a good run there. Yeah, Borderlo wasn't going to make it in because of COVID protocols, but I think the IIHF saw the writing on the wall with USA forfeiting, then Russia, and then we find out a couple more players tested positive today as well. So
I think it was just too big of an ask, and at the end of the day, you weren't going to have the best on best format.
Nope.
And I think really we started kind of throwing up the red flag when the United States had to forfeit their match against I think it was Finland, right? Yeah, and so I think to me that was kind of really when the gears kind of got oiled, and really kind of rethought the whole World Juniors. And it's unfortunate because you've got a couple of players that could benefit from the experience, but hey, COVID gonna COVID, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, COVID's gonna COVID. I mean, I don't know how you can put on that tournament and then you cancel everything, including the women's tournament, which I thought was just hogwash first and foremost. But now that everything's off the shelf, then it makes sense. So with that, I think we are just about done, my friend. So in case you missed anything or you want to watch this again, check us out on tealtownusa.com or your favorite podcatcher, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeartRadio. Of course, always available at tealtownusa.com. So we will be returning with you at the beginning of the road trip. It is an early Saturday morning, 10 a.m. start as the Sharks begin this 4-game road trip taking on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Yeah, of course, sure. Have them fly out of San Jose, then go to Pittsburgh, and then have them play at practically dawn for them.
Hey, it's nothing a Bloody Mary won't fix.
Yeah, so or mimosa. That's for So we'll be back with you for that. If Ian's doing it, he might get his wish for his very special 3-hour episode of After Dark. We'll see on that part. So, but in the meantime, Landy, good to see you, bud. Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to everybody out there. We appreciate each and every one of you, and here's to some continued success and growth and love here in 2022. So with that, Landy, your final thoughts.
Final thoughts on this one for me is we finally break the stealth curse. Special shout out to a Miss Rachel in San Diego, another Sharks fan. So that's cool. Joined a lot of different San Diego and SoCal Sharks groups. And just a special shout out. And then where you can find me at Eric Landy is my first name. That's ERIK, Landy, LANDI on all the social media garbage.
I'm trying to make him blush, folks, but it's not working out too.
It ain't happening, dude. Dang. It ain't happening.
All I'm going to say is this. I wore the reverse retro tonight during the game. Usually I try to wear, if I'm wearing a teal jersey, it's teal or white or black, whatever. Tonight I went with gray. It worked. Let's see what happens from there. So we'll be back with you Sunday. You get a double dip. You're gonna have an After Dark in the afternoon, and then you're gonna have Pucknologist at night. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, and make sure if you haven't liked already, thank you. Do it right now. And for that matter, if you're watching us on the replay, comment on what you thought about the game and what do you think of us. Be gentle, though.
Those Erics are cool guys, man.
So until Sunday afternoon and Sunday night, keep it real, keep it teal, keep it real teal. Have a great night, everyone. We will see you on Sunday.